I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thanks for joining us. All right, coming up, Newt Gingrich on the latest madness on Capitol Hill. But first, the future isn't here. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, 6 votes later, Republicans, who are supposedly the majority party in the House, still couldn't reach the requisite 218 votes needed to elect a speaker. But I was thinking about this today. What looks chaotic and kind of seems counterproductive to many, it's actually in its own way refreshing because it's democracy in action. Now, it does remind us that this isn't China, where party apparatchiks just fall in line with whatever their dear leader decrees. In the GOP, unlike in Pelosi's party, there is a lively debate about policy and tactics. So everyone has a chance in this process to have his or her voice heard and have their vote counted ultimately. And plus, what's crazier, what we've witnessed in the past 2 days in the House or what we witnessed right before Christmas, with Congress jamming $1.7 trillion of spending into one giant omnibus bill that, by the way, no one read. So my message tonight is a simple one. Don't get distracted by what's happening in D.C. Things are going to settle out. Life will go on. The exciting stuff, by the way, isn't happening inside the Beltway anyway. It's certainly not happening here when we have a federal government run by out-of-touch octogenarians like Biden and McConnell and, oh yeah, the septuagenarian Chuck Schumer. That generation of leaders, they've helped run the nation into a debt stratosphere, stoking damaging inflation, empowering China, losing us 2 wars. Now we're mired in what, a proxy war with Russia? That's great. No wonder young people are fed up with politics. No wonder they tune it all out. I don't blame them at this point. But the good news, and there is good news that's coming out, it's happening far beyond the Beltway. It's happening in states where governors are rising above the woke and broke politics of the left because they're focused on pragmatic policies that address the needs and concerns of regular people. People who are right now, tonight, worried about losing their life savings, their freedom, and their ability to raise their families in safety, and the right and the need to go back to work.
Freedom lives here in our great sunshine state of Florida. It lives in the courage of those who patrol the streets and who keep our communities safe. It lives in the dedication of those who teach our children. It lives in the dreams of the historic number of families who have moved from states across this country because they saw Florida as the land of liberty and the land of sanity.
Right, so we have in Florida, in Texas, in Iowa, Virginia, we're seeing real success. And what we're getting in Washington is just a lot of dysfunction.
Fighting for freedom is not always easy because the threats to freedom are more complex and more widespread than they have been in the past. The threats can come from entrenched bureaucrats in D.C., jet setters in Davos, and corporations wielding public power. Some even say that failure is inevitable. Florida is proof positive that we, the people, are not destined for failure.
Of course, failure, though, is what woke teachers' unions specialize in delivering, from supporting lockdowns to pushing all that radical sex and racial agenda stuff on our kids. Randy Weingarten and the gang, they've held our kids in a vice grip of underperformance for decades now. But governors like Kim Reynolds in Iowa, well, they're doing more than just complaining about teachers' unions. They're working on choking off their funds with portable scholarships that parents can use toward the schools of their choice. And in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has done more for border security than President Biden will ever hope to do. It's not even close.
A dramatic scene on Texas's U.S.-Mexico border. Before sunrise, Texas National Guard troops arrived to put a razor wire fence alongside the banks of the Rio Grande. Texas Governor Greg Abbott sending 400 more National Guard troops to the El Paso border in an attempt to block the flow of migrants into the U.S.
And unlike Biden, by the way, Abbott has designated the Mexican cartels that are driving this crazy influx of migrants, labeled them domestic terrorists. And he's raised public awareness of the border crisis by shipping more than 16,500 migrants to some of the biggest sanctuary cities in the country. Like, why should Texas be stuck with the bill and all the problems that the Biden administration created with this illegal immigration disaster? So Abbott, right now, is standing up for his people and the rule of law. No wonder he beat old Beto Boy by almost 11 points. And let's not forget what's happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, that's a state that political pundits just a few years ago thought was irretrievably blue. That was up until 2021 when Glenn Youngkin won the governorship there. Right now, he's broadening the party's reach by taking on the lunatics on the left, whose goal is to separate children from their parents, and having his attorney general launch investigations into the schools behind it all.
I'm not going away. I'm making sure that we're going to stand up for parents' rights. We're going to make sure that our children have their parents engaged in their lives fully. And when we see a problem, we're going to go to work and root it out immediately.
Now, this is where the battle for the future of America really is being fought. In the states where Americans are fleeing to, not fleeing from. In the states led by men and women who are not afraid to speak basic truths, who are not afraid to be vilified by the press, and oh, are they vilified. And they're not afraid to go up against powerful forces in big pharma, not afraid to challenge the authority of the federal government when the federal government tramples on states' rights. So I'm telling you tonight, do not fret about Washington when there's so much that's actually working out there. I'd say almost what, was it a 20-point victory for DeSantis in Florida? That's a pretty clear indication of just how much momentum we can have if we play things smartly. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.